Hollywood isn't just red carpets and perfect mansions. Behind some of its most famous gates are stories that feel anything but glamorous. Celebrity homes that were tied to tragedy and strange experiences. Some say it's just rumors. Others swear these places never really feel empty. Come and step inside these 12 haunted celebrity mansions Hollywood tried to hide. Number 12. Chateau Marmont. Even though it's technically a hotel, the Chateau Marmont has never really felt like one. Sitting above the Sunset Strip, it became a place where Hollywood slipped out of the spotlight, where quiet, late-night moments stayed far from headlines. Over the years, it's been tied to countless stories, from scandals involving guests like Lindsay Lohan to decades of whispered rumors. It built a reputation as Hollywood's hidden escape, where things happened and then stayed there. But beneath the glamour is a darker history. In 1982, comedian John Belushi was found dead in Bungalow 3 after a drug overdose. Since then, guests and staff have reported strange sounds, sudden chills, and an unsettling feeling that the space doesn't fully reset. One of the creepiest stories comes from a family in the late 90s whose child kept talking about a funny man in the room, described in a way that matched Belushi. Nothing was ever proven, but the story stuck. And that's the thing about the Chateau Marmont. It never quite feels empty, even when it should. Number 11. The Poltergeist Curse. When the film Poltergeist came out, it was just another Hollywood horror production, at least on the surface. But over time, the story around it started to feel like something else entirely. The house used for exterior shots in Simi Valley, California became known not just as a filming location, but as a place tied to a disturbing string of real-life tragedies involving members of the cast. People connected to the film, including actress Dominique Dunne, faced heartbreaking events shortly after the movie's release. And that overlap between fiction and reality is what fueled the Poltergeist curse narrative for decades. It wasn't just one incident. It was the unsettling pattern of loss surrounding a movie about something unseen and lurking just beyond the walls. Visitors and fans who later went to the filming location have described an odd feeling in the area. It was just subtle and made them really uncomfortable, like the space itself carries a heavy memory. Even crew members over the years have admitted there was something about the production that felt heavier than a typical shoot, especially during night scenes at the house. Some stories don't stay in the past the way they're supposed to. They just keep finding ways to resurface. Number 10. Elvis's Hidden Retreat. When people think of Elvis Presley, they think of Graceland. But the most unsettling stories come from upstairs, his private quarters, sealed and preserved almost exactly as they were when he died in 1977. That section of the house carries a heavier kind of silence, like time simply stopped there. The contrast is striking. Downstairs is open and bright for visitors, while upstairs is completely cut off, like the house suddenly ends mid-story. That separation is a big reason people describe the space as feeling paused, as if life never fully continued beyond it. Over time, staff and visitors have reported strange details from that sealed floor. Soft piano music when no one is there, footsteps in empty rooms, and even shadowy figures in the hallway that vanish in seconds. The bathroom area, where Elvis passed, is often linked to sudden cold spots and an uneasy feeling that something lingers. Even family members have added to the mystery, with Lisa Marie Presley and Priscilla Presley both describing the upstairs as deeply surreal, like the past never really left. Number 9. Marilyn Monroe's final home. You probably already know who she is. Marilyn Monroe, one of the most iconic faces Hollywood ever created. The short blonde hair, the white dress in the wind, an image that became instantly unforgettable. But her story ended far from the spotlight, inside a quiet home in Brentwood, Los Angeles. Her final residence sits in a peaceful neighborhood in Los Angeles, a Spanish-style house that looks almost ordinary from the outside. Yet this was where she spent her final months in 1962, and where her life came to a tragic end. Tucked behind walls and greenery, the home feels hidden despite being in one of the most expensive areas of the city. That contrast between its calm exterior and its history has long given the place a lingering sense of unease, as if something never fully settled after her passing. Locals and visitors have occasionally described subtle oddities, faint sounds in an empty house, lights flickering, and an atmosphere that feels heavier than expected. Nothing dramatic, just small details that stick in people's minds once they know the story. Even today, it's still spoken about less like a celebrity home and more like a memory that never fully faded. Number 8. Kylie Jenner's haunted mansion. If there's one family that basically defined modern celebrity culture, it's the Kardashians. Their lives have been on TV for years, turned into one of the most watched reality shows in the world. And at the center of that new generation fame is Kylie Jenner, one of the most recognizable figures to come out of that spotlight. With that level of fame comes a lifestyle built inside some of the most expensive homes in Los Angeles. Her Hidden Hills mansion in Los Angeles looks exactly like you'd expect. Ultra-modern and completely private behind high gates. On the surface, it's the definition of luxury living. But Kylie has mentioned in interviews that living there hasn't always felt as perfect as it looks. She's described moments like hearing unexplained noises at night.
I have a situation.
What's the situation?
Yeah, she does. My house is like very haunted.
The showers turned on by themselves, and even her dogs reacting to empty spaces like something was there.
So I have a ghost, and he just comes out at night.
Events that don't quite make sense when you're alone in a house that big. Her sister, Khloe Kardashian, has even joked about the idea of it being haunted, but the story stuck with viewers anyway, especially coming from one of the most famous families in reality TV history. When your life is always on camera, the unexplained moments stand out even more. Number 7. The Osbourne Mansion. Long before celebrity reality TV became normal, one family showed just how chaotic life inside a famous home could get. The reality show featuring Ozzy Osbourne and Sharon Osbourne made them one of the most recognizable households in the world. But behind the humor and cameras, there was always another layer to their story. The family also became known for something unexpected: their interest in the paranormal. Jack Osbourne revisited his childhood home in Buckinghamshire, often referred to as the Welder's House, where he has spoken about experiencing unexplained phenomena growing up. The family later explored other reportedly haunted locations, including the Perry Mansion in Los Angeles and the Glen Tavern Inn in California. One of the more unsettling investigations took place at the Haunted Hill House in Texas, which Jack described as deeply disturbing, while another location left Sharon reportedly overwhelmed by an unexplained physical reaction during filming. And over time, these experiences didn't just stay private. They became part of how people started talking about the Osbournes. Number 6. Houdini Estate. Hidden high in the hills of Los Angeles sits the Houdini Estate, a sprawling property once connected to Harry Houdini. On the surface, it feels like another historic Hollywood mansion. Old stone paths, layered gardens, and a layout that seems designed to feel mysterious even in daylight. But the estate has carried a strange reputation for decades. After Houdini's death, rumors spread that he never fully left the property in the public imagination, especially because of his obsession with the afterlife and spiritualism in his later years. Over time, visitors and investigators began reporting unusual experiences around the grounds: sudden temperature drops, unexplained sounds near the garden areas, and the feeling of being watched even when no one else is visible. Some paranormal groups who have visited over the years have also described activity that feels inconsistent and unpredictable, as if the property reacts differently depending on where you stand. Whether it's suggestion or something else entirely, the atmosphere is often described the same way: quiet, but never empty. And just down the list from places tied to illusion and mystery is a mansion built from wealth, power, and something far more violent. Still watching? Or are these places starting to get under your skin? Number 5. Greystone Mansion. The Greystone Mansion in Beverly Hills looks like something straight out of a film. Massive stone architecture and perfectly maintained grounds that have been featured in countless Hollywood productions. But behind that polished exterior is a real and unsettling history tied to the family of oil tycoon Edward L. Doheny. In 1929, just 4 months after the family moved into the mansion became the site of a tragic murder-suicide involving Doheny's son, a tragedy that permanently changed how the property was viewed. Since then, stories have circulated among staff, filmmakers, and visitors about strange experiences inside the house. Footsteps in empty hallways, doors closing on their own, and an overall feeling that certain parts of the mansion feel heavier than others. Because of its size and cinematic look, Greystone has been used in countless films and TV productions, which only added to its reputation. Crews working late at night have occasionally described moments where the building feels different once the lights go down. Quieter, but not necessarily still. It's the kind of place where beauty and something far more unsettling exist side by side, and neither ever really cancels the other out. Number 4. Neverland Ranch. When people think of childhood fantasy, it's hard not to picture Neverland Ranch, the private estate of Michael Jackson. It was a world built like a dream. Amusement park rides, a zoo, and spaces designed to feel like reality didn't quite apply. But after Jackson left in the mid-2000s, that atmosphere shifted. The rides stopped, the music faded, and what was once full of life became unusually still. Visitors and caretakers later described a heavy silence across the property. Not peaceful, but almost suspended, like time stopped mid-moment. Some have reported strange feelings near the abandoned attractions, where structures still stand as reminders of what it used to be. there were also unconfirmed stories of unusual sightings over the years, adding to the estate's lingering mystery. In 2009, a moment from Larry King Live fueled online rumors when viewers claimed they spotted a shadow in footage linked to the ranch. Then, in 2020, the property, later renamed Sycamore Valley Ranch, was sold to businessman Ron Burkle, though many original structures reportedly still remain. And even now, it doesn't feel completely gone, just paused in a different form. Number 3. Soden House. At first glance, the Soden House looks like a monument. Its temple-like design and geometric structure make it stand out instantly from the surrounding Hollywood Hills estates. The house was designed by Lloyd Wright, son of legendary architect Frank Lloyd Wright, a name already tied to some of America's most iconic homes. But unlike those elegant designs, this one earned its own unsettling nickname, the Jaws House, because its jagged concrete facade looks almost like a giant mouth with teeth closing in. However, its reputation comes less from architecture and more from what it's been tied to. The house has long been linked, through speculation and true crime investigation, to the murder of Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia case, one of the most infamous unsolved crimes in Los Angeles history. So how does this tie into Hollywood? While she wasn't a celebrity, her story became deeply tied to Hollywood itself. She arrived in Los Angeles with Hollywood dreams, and her murder quickly exposed the darker side of the city's glamour era, pulling in wealthy figures and Hollywood-adjacent social circles that blurred fame, power, and crime. One of the most discussed names connected to theories around the house is George Hodel, a former resident mentioned in multiple investigations and documentaries, though nothing was ever proven in court. Inside, the house only adds to the unease. Thick concrete walls, maze-like corridors, and a sealed, bunker-like layout that makes it feel cut off from everything outside. Visitors often describe it as unnaturally quiet, like sound gets absorbed the moment it enters. And that's what keeps the Soden House in the conversation. Even without answers, it remains a monument where the architecture itself feels like it's trying to keep a secret. Number 2. Sharon Tate House. Some houses become famous for their design. Others become infamous for what happened inside them. The property at 10,050 Cielo Drive falls firmly into the second category. It was here that Sharon Tate lived during one of the most devastating and widely publicized crimes in Hollywood history. In 1969, the home became the scene of the Tate LaBianca murders, carried out by members of the Manson family. According to later investigations and testimony, the group's actions were driven by a warped belief system tied to their leader, Charles Manson, who encouraged his followers toward violence in what he claimed was a larger ideological plan he called Helter Skelter. It was a case that shook Los Angeles and permanently changed how Hollywood thought about safety behind closed doors. The violence that unfolded there didn't just make headlines. It left a mark on the property itself, one that people still talk about decades later. After the events, the house was eventually demolished, but the location never really lost its reputation. Neighbors and later observers have described the area as feeling strangely quiet, almost too quiet, as if the memory of what happened there never fully faded into the background. What makes it even more unsettling is that even when a house is gone, people still swear they can feel exactly where it once stood. Number 1. Playboy Mansion. Everyone's heard of it, even if they've never seen it. The Playboy Mansion wasn't just a house. It was a symbol of fame and a very specific era of Hollywood lifestyle built around its owner, Hugh Hefner. For decades, it stood as one of the most talked about private estates in the world. From the outside, it already feels like something out of another time. Stone architecture and a design that looks more like an old European manor than a Los Angeles mansion. Inside, it became a self-contained world, massive gardens, themed rooms, hidden spaces, and the infamous grotto that defined its reputation. But beyond the image of luxury and parties, the mansion has long carried a more unusual reputation. Its layout includes hidden doors and sections that feel strangely disconnected, helping fuel urban legends that the house wasn't just extravagant, but unsettling once it went quiet. Former resident Holly Madison has even described it as having its own mythology, with some people referring to it as the haunted house in earlier years. She and others, including Bridget Marquardt, have since spoken about unexplained moments and strange feelings inside the estate. And when a place is that famous for excess and secrecy, it's no surprise people start wondering what's still there when the noise fades out. If you enjoyed exploring these haunted celebrity mansions, follow along to this next video for another story waiting to be discovered.